This is the only iPad that I still consider just to be a tablet and not a computer in Apple's current lineup of iPad devices. However, it was missing from Apple's May 7th event, and that's a shame, because for me, the iPad mini 6th generation is the perfect tablet. Let me explain. Now, just to recap what happened at the May 7th event. Firstly, the iPad Air got an update with faster internals due to the M2 chip, new colour options, a better placed front-facing camera, along with a couple of other minor changes. The Pro got the most updates with the new dual LED screen, which Apple is calling Tandem OLED, 11 and 13-inch options, updated camera, the removal of the ultra-wide camera, and this was also the introduction of the brand new M4 chip, which makes it the most up-to-date chip of any Apple product. There was also an update to Final Cut and Logic Pro on the iPad, along with a brand new Apple Pencil Pro, which of course only works with the brand new $1,000 iPad Pro. But something that was missing from the event is the iPad mini 6th generation, which hasn't seen an update for over 2.5 years. This is still available today from Apple directly in 4 colours, 2 storage sizes, Wi-Fi or cellular, and starting at $449. So in this video we're going to be going over the specs, the screen, the overall performance, and if the iPad mini is still worth it in 2024. Quick housekeeping, in the box you're going to be getting all of your paperwork, Apple stickers, which also are absent from this year's $2,500 iPad Pro, which is the top of the range option, but no stickers for you unfortunately. You're also going to be getting a 20-watt charger, USB-C to C cable, and of course the mini itself, mine here being in the space grey finish. And first up we have the design. And if you've used an iPad in the last 5 years, this is going to feel pretty familiar to you. You have the flat edges, multiple speaker holes, camera bump, and nice rounded edges that carry over to the screen. You have nothing on the left of the tablet, magnetic charge section on the right for the Apple Pencil, and along the bottom you have your speakers, microphone, along with the USB-C port. Then along the top, more speaker holes, power button with Touch ID, which is super quick, and the volume up and down. And although it is an older device, still no headphone jack. And in general, this tablet feels amazing to hold and use on a daily basis. Because of the size, you can comfortably hold it in one hand while poking with the other. It's also a lot more usable to mobile games because the size width is not much more than a game controller. So for prolonged gaming sessions, you don't have to cramp your hands like on your phone or worry about holding a 13-inch tablet. It's also super light, coming in at 292 grams and 6.3 millimeters thin. Now, I know the new Pros are razor thin at around 5 millimeters or just over, but I don't necessarily think that anyone was asking for a thinner iPad, maybe a bit more battery life so it does last a little bit longer, but 6.3 millimeter is nothing to cry about. Now onto the only real thing that you're going to be using with this tablet, that is the screen. We have an 8.3-inch Liquid Retina LED backlit IPS display coming in at 2266 by 1488, giving that old school Apple PPI of 326 pixels per inch. It also has some nice features like True Tone, a better than average fully laminated display, meaning it feels much closer to the glass, and a 500 nit peak brightness. It also supports the Apple Pencil 2nd Gen and the Apple Pencil USB-C version. However, while the screen looks nice, there is one major issue with this tablet that is going to be going throughout this video, and it's the fact that it is 2024 and the iPad mini 6th Gen is still stuck at 60Hz. Now, don't get me wrong, if your current laptop or MacBook has a 60Hz display and you've never had the luxury of using a Pro device or a gaming monitor at 140 or 240Hz, then you may not see a difference using the 60Hz display on the iPad mini. And of course, once you're in a video, replying to an email or playing some games, it does fade away, but with the older processor and the slower than top tier refresh rate, it can feel a little bit laggy from time to time. Now, of course, I've been spoiled with the 90Hz Google Pixel displays, 144Hz gaming monitors, and of course the 120Hz of my iPhone 15 Pro, but honestly, for me, even without using those screens, this is the thing that feels the most old on this particular tablet. Like I say, it's 2024, even some budget mobile devices are coming in at 120 or even 90Hz, so it would be nice to see a little bit of a spec bump here. Even if at the May event all they did was update the display with a little higher brightness and 90 to 120Hz, that would be enough of an update for me. I don't need an M series processor from my iPad mini, but a faster screen would be amazing. amazing. However, while using the screen, the colours look nice, the contrast is pretty good overall, it's plenty sharp for day-to-day use, the aspect ratio makes it even better for browsing the web than my iPhone even with that refresh rate. And playing games, using the OS, watching movies all look great. I also think the design plus the screen makes it a great cooking companion, camera monitor, teleprompter or note taker, and it's great just to hold while on the couch or in bed. So it looks good, the screen's good, but how's the performance based on that older chipset? Well, inside the iPad mini 6th generation you get the Apple A15 Bionic chip, a 6-core CPU with 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, 5-core GPU and a 16-core neural engine, which is definitely no slouch. And as you may know if you've used Apple devices in the past, even a couple of year old flagship device from Apple is, in terms of power wise, performance, graphics and everything like that, it can hold its own with the newest flagship devices from 2024. So the performance on the iPad mini is great. Now don't get me wrong, sometimes there's a little bit of slowdown or what feels like lag, but I'm trying to put my finger on the fact that if that's just the display with the refresh rate or the actual processor itself kind of showing its age. Moving around, iPadOS 17.5.1 at the time of this video recording feels great. You have all the iPadOS options that you've come to love more recently, like lock screen widgets, widgets on the home screen, stage manager, using multiple apps either side by side or with a floating app, and let's not forget that in terms of apps made for tablets, then you just can't beat Apple and Apple's App Store. Developers just seem to care more about the iPad side of things when it comes to developing a great tablet application. Now don't get me wrong, you can get some other applications on some other tablets from Samsung for example, but for some reason the way that they're designed and the way that they work on iPads, you just can't beat it. Day-to-day watching movies, listening to music, doing some emails or web browsing all feel great and fluid. Even some of the more demanding tasks like gaming with a game like Genshin Impact is no worry for the mini. It runs on high settings, you can have motion blur on, locked 60 frames per second frame rate, and again because of the size you have more room for controls and it doesn't take up the whole entire screen like when you're cramped around a mobile device like your phone for example. Other games like Call of Duty Mobile run great from a gameplay and visuals perspective, and Asphalt 9 looks amazing on this screen. Now yes, unlike the other iPads with the M series chips, you won't be playing AAA console games like Resident Evil, Assassin's Creed or Death Stranding, but for me I also don't want to play those on an iPad in general, mainly because it's harder for me to throw out my monitor compared to an iPad if something freaks me out in Resident Evil, but more so for the console gaming experience. I do like the fact that you've got a screen, controller, you can sit somewhere more comfortable, and it's just a bit more of an immersive experience compared to using an iPad. Even at the larger sizes, I just don't think it's great for AAA or story-driven gaming. Call me old-fashioned. But the takeaway here is the iPad mini's performance is no slouch, and should last a good 2 or 3 years without feeling slow even if you buy it today. And let's not forget how long Apple supports devices for. iPadOS 17 even runs on the iPad mini 5th generation from early 2019. So fingers crossed for iPadOS 19 on the Mini 6. And because we all know someone that does this, how's the camera on the Mini? Well, it's actually pretty good. You have a 12 megapixel f1.8 shooter around the back with quad LED True Tone flash, Smart HDR3, image stabilization and live photo. The rear camera is also a solid video camera, being able to shoot 4K at up to 60 frames a second, 1080p slow-mo, time-lapse, and has great overall colours and sharpness. Once again, if you've used an iPhone or any iOS device more recently, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Now don't get me wrong, it's not the sharpness and the amazing quality that you get from maybe the last couple of generations of iPhone, but it's still pretty good overall. However, the best camera is going to be that front-facing camera. You have a 12 megapixel 1080p ultra-wide f2.2 shooter. This means you get some great FaceTime call quality, center stage, and the wide lens allows you to get a lot in your shots. I still would advise against going around taking photos with the tablet, but if you have to, the iPad, or more specifically the Mini, is actually a pretty viable option. Now to round off the video, I started out by saying that the iPad Mini is the last tablet in Apple's iPad lineup currently. Now that's mainly because they're really pushing the accessories like the keyboard, trackpad, using a mouse with your iPad, the Apple Pencil, and even on the Air, and more so on the Pro. The new iPad Pro with the M4 chip, OLED screen, keyboard and trackpad attachment is a couple ports short of being a full-fledged MacBook Pro. And for me, I've always categorized tech with small internet and big internet. Now, what I mean by that is small internet is for checking the weather, replying to a quick email, checking on social media, and all of that can be achieved on your phone, no problem at all. But big internet is for the bigger, more important things, like using Google Documents for a long paper or script, filing and paying taxes or bills, buying a new car, searching for a new house. Basically, small internet is not that important, and big internet is all the important things you need to be doing. And the iPads currently with the M series processor for me are more big internet devices. They're the ones that I would reach for with a more important task and not for a bit of fun. The iPad mini still sits in that selection of games, movies, note-taking, and just in general the more fun day-to-day tasks. And it's also great to just take around, throw it into a bag with a cheap Amazon case, whereas if you've got a $1,000 iPad Pro, you might treat it slightly differently, not take it out in certain circumstances, and maybe just use it a little bit more limited compared to what you would with the iPad mini. And the new iPad Pros, much like you would if you bought a Windows device or a MacBook, have multiple different options when it comes to configuration. You have the basic stuff like the screen size, storage, but then you have the screen finish, glossy or nano texture. Oh, and by the way, the nano texture screen is only available on the 1TB model and up. Then you get into the real thick of it with the different storage options or screen sizes. You get a different number of CPU cores and RAM. So the 256GB 13-inch M4 iPad Pro, which is a bit of a mouthful, will have a 9-core CPU and 8GB of RAM. But if you get the 1TB version, you can have the alternative display finish, and that comes with a 10-core CPU and 16GB of RAM. It's just like speccing out a MacBook. And for me, I'm not looking for a laptop when I'm buying an iPad. I want it to be a little bit smaller than what I have on my MacBook, for example, with my 13-inch screen, a little bit bigger than my 6-inch iPhone, and just in general be able to perform day-to-day tasks, watch some movies, play some games. And again, that's why for me, the iPad mini 6th generation is the perfect tablet. But of course, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys are currently using for your in-between device. Or you may just be one of these people that has just a phone, just a laptop, and you don't need anything in between. But if you did, is the iPad mini something you may be looking at even now in 2024? For me, I would definitely say that it is still worth it. However, I would definitely be looking at the more second-hand market, because for $449, it's still a pretty expensive device based on the age of the technology. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like down below. And if you've got any questions or comments or anything you want to ask me about my day-to-day with the iPad mini, let me know in the comment section down below. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, now is a great time to do so. And of course, once you've hit that subscribe button, don't forget to turn on your notifications so you're notified anytime I post a video here on the channel. I'm Michael from Copper vs Glass. I'm going to go back to using my iPad mini, and I will catch you guys in the next video.